It's the Mint Museum's newest exhibit, featuring some of the oldest clothes you may ever see. Fashion Reimagined, a historical perspective of clothing styles and designers from the 1700s to modern times. Now on display at the Mint Museum's Uptown location at the Levine Center for the Arts.
This is a very lively and dynamic gallery, and you have a feeling of joy and happiness here.
Mint supporters and local media members recently attended the exhibit's grand opening, in which Fashion Reimagined does its best to once again show that fashion is indeed an expression of art.
The collection was built by this group of women who recognized that fashion was a really important design, craft, and art form.
The exhibit is divided into 3 distinct theme sections: minimalism, pattern and decoration, and the body reimagined, with each piece showing the designer, time frame it was produced, and what the garment was intended for.
The fabric here in this ensemble from about 1770, the beautiful beige wool was one of the greatest luxury products being produced in Britain at the time.
The exhibit is being done in conjunction to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Mint's fashion collection's founding in 1972.
We've got between about 8,000 and 10,000 items, so obviously that would be very hard to display all in one gallery.
This is only 50 of nearly 8,000 extraordinary examples of really masterworks of design. But also we wanted 50 fashions to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the founding of the collection.
The collection began with local family heirlooms, donated old clothes people found in their attics and basements.
3 members of the Women's Auxiliary, it's now called the Mint Museum Auxiliary. They were inspired by the historic costume collection at Rinalda House Museum in Winston-Salem.
And over these last 5 decades, it's evolved into one of the largest collections in the Southeast.
They were mostly receiving donations until about 1991.
And then gradually, the museum itself began to strategically build the collection through purchases, most of which were funded by the Mint Museum Auxiliary.
As you might imagine, though, caring for and preserving the garments is a job in and of itself.
They're either stored flat in acid-free, archival materials. Some of them are hanging with supports, but in every case, they are sort of like deflated sculptures.
With thousands of choices, deciding which outfits to showcase at Fashion Reimagined was pretty taxing, to say the least, and then getting those selected pieces ready to be put on display presented its own set of challenges.
As a conservator, my philosophy is basically do the least amount of work on a garment. One of the garments had the front panel of the skirt had a stain on it that had eaten through the fabric, so there was a hole in it. And so I went back to New York and I had someone hand dye some silk to match the fabric, and I replaced that old silk.
She makes the curator's dream and the fashion history manifest.
It wasn't just one time period that we were dealing with that we sort of could do in an assembly line. You had to, each garment, because they were so different, you had to kind of approach in a completely different way.
The Mint's library keeps a scrapbook filled with newspaper articles, magazine write-ups, and pictures from local morning TV talk shows, all about the collection from the last 50 years.
In earlier times, there was a lot more coverage of our fashion collection in the paper.
What's perhaps most interesting is the Mint's collection is almost better well known within the fashion industry outside of Charlotte than it is right here at home.
The Mint's fashion collection is full of extraordinary objects that are rare, that you don't find in other museums. And again, it's like Charlotte's secret.
And as Charlotte has grown and all these people from other places have come in, a lot of the pieces of our history have kind of sunk into the background. People just don't know, and we are moving so fast that we forget to tell the story.
And that's part of the reason why we're telling the story now.
I think it's huge for us to be able to tell the story, because this is a part of our history.
Whether you call them works of art or not, Fashion Reimagined is on display now for all to see. For Carolina Impact, I'm Jason Terzis reporting.
Thanks for watching, and if you don't want to miss any more great regional stories, please subscribe to our PBS Charlotte YouTube channel.